everyone. I'm Sriram. Yesterday, Preetham here, our VP of Product, was asking me to prepare. I said I'm not a method actor. There's nothing that I can see, right? So a good start. And I have with me
Myself, Faninder. I'm the Associate Product Manager for all things Apple in Scalefusion.
Cool. So as the slide says, we would be covering how do you as an IT admin manage compliance for Apple devices and dig deep a little bit on mSCP project or macOS security and compliance project. So let's get started. Now, you must be thinking, why compliance, right? So as an IT admin, if you think compliance is expensive or disposable, try being non-compliant. You have your CISOs, CEOs, everyone kind of standing on your head. That's why compliance is important. But before we go to the why, let's go to the what of compliance. Thank you, Funny. I forgot my clicker in all this hype and hoopla. Yeah, what is compliance, right? My marketing gave me two buzzwords. C is compliance, D is for device compliance, and say it A is for Apple. I don't know what B is for. I'll probably come back with a line for that in my presentation. But let's look at what is C is for compliance. Compliance is a set of standards, right? Laws or policies which you as an organization would have to apply to make sure that you are adhering to legal and security requirements. It's not only about IT systems, it's about a business as a whole. What does it do? It probably reduces your risk, maintains the trust, and very, very importantly, reduces your liability of financial and legal penalties. That's what we want to do, right? Now, we need to understand when we use the word compliance, it's a broader term. It applies to your entire organization. It can be a process. It can be your workplace conduct. It can be, obviously, includes the IT systems. That's where D for device compliance comes in. This part focuses on the hardware and software of the devices, right? What does it mean, right? You all know, you as IT admin enforce encryption. Keep the OS always updated. Make sure that the password policies are updated. All of this is a part of compliance. It makes sure that the sensitive data is protected and you're trying to block or exfiltration of the data leak that happens. And all of this to make sure that it is audit ready, that whenever the auditors ask for this, the device compliance solution, whatever you're using, should be able to give you those audits. Not only that, in the ever-changing landscape, it should be able to monitor and automatically remediate. So that's how we basically differentiate compliance and device compliance. Now, when we started compliance, right, we also as a company, we are a mid-sized startup. When we started, there were these many words thrown at us, like a standard, a framework, a benchmark, a baseline. So we wanted to share our knowledge that we learned. We might be wrong a little bit, but for us, ISO 2001 is a standard because it exactly says what you need. It says this is what the control should be and how it should be, and across your processes. Whereas if you look at SOC 2, SOC 2 is a framework. It doesn't go ahead and say this control should be there. It evaluates your controls and whether it says it satisfies the compliance or not, or the SOC 2 or not. Now, then arrives the benchmarks. Benchmarks are very strict set of controls which clearly say that your password policy should be XYZ, right? Benchmarks are complete rules and the values for those rules as well. Popular benchmarks being level 1, level 2, DISA and all. Now, which leaves us with what's a baseline, right? Now, that was a confusion. What do we call a baseline? Now, each organization takes a benchmark and derives a baseline for themselves. Why is that important? Now, CIS level 1 says, for example, your organization should have 20-digit or 20-character password. Now, we all know that if we as IT admins said that, the only feature that we are going to use is reset password. Every day we are going to reset password. Now you're deriving your baseline out of a CIS level benchmark saying, my organization is okay with an 8 to 12 because of so-and-so reasons. You are debating this with auditors, you are debating with your CISO, arriving at that and defining your own baseline. So benchmarks are really important. It is the gold standard of whatever standard you have chosen, but having a baseline for your company is very important. I know I spoke for 1 minute. I'm sure you will still have questions. So we went ahead and did a complete podcast from Mac admins, Tom, who was lovely in opening this, and with Bob Gendler. We'll know more about Bob Gendler in a minute. This was done, this is our webinar, Bottom Line by Scalefusion. And Tom, you can scan the QR codes if you want the link. It's episode 419. The only time I use Spotify not to listen is this, to go to this podcast and listen to myself and Preetham's voices. Cool. That's about Scalefusion. Let's look at Mac Security and Compliance project. Without sounding preposterous, I would just like to do a status check on how many of us here know about mSCP project. If we can have a raise of hands. Cool, it's wonderful to see at least many of you know about mSCP, so I think we should dig a little bit deeper, right? Now, as IT admins, we are an UEM provider. I forgot the introduction of Scalefusion. We are an UEM and identity and access management provider and security and compliance all within single console, which we'll see in a bit. But when we talk to admins, right, they all know we want this. We want a password policy. We want the password to be XYZ. We want this app to be updated. But what you should have is what we don't know. We just set the profiles and policies only to this part. That's where mSCP comes in. mSCP is a joint effort by NIST, NASA, DISA, and LANL IT security teams, where they have come together and used the NIST security and privacy controls to make a completely open source project. Now, it's not an open source project of documentation. It is a repository of programmable scripts that you, as Mac admins, can download, curate them, and execute them on your Macs to make sure that your devices are compliant. The best part of it is it's open source. And in the same repository, it supports multiple guidelines. So you don't have to go looking for CIS level in mSCP and probably NIST in another. The same repository has all the guidelines for Mac admins across the benchmarks, which we will dig deep because we believe that you as Mac admins should understand about mSCP. And if you can look at the contributors, Bob Gendler happens to be one of the initial founders or the members of this, and he was joined by people, our friends at Jamf, Zentral, NASA, and as I said, even folks at DISA and LANL. So for you, we have got a message from Bob Gendler himself for the Mac admins India. So, funny if you could play.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Gendler from the National Institute of Standards and Technology in the USA, and welcome to the Mac Admins Conference. I just want to take a moment and thank everyone there who is using, or has looked at, or has poked at the macOS Security Compliance Project. It's very humbling, and it's amazing that a project that I started, that we started here, has reached an audience all the way across the world. So thank you. Thank you to the people at Scalefusion who have added it into their MDM, and thank you to everybody who has looked at the web page, downloaded, cloned, or used the project in their environment. Anyway, I hope you all have a great conference and a great day.
Cool. That was Bob. I would like to categorically mention it was not an endorsement of Scalefusion. We worked with Bob, and are still working for our Linux compliance and all. So that was a friendly gesture. Please, I would like to disclaim that it's not an endorsement of Scalefusion. I would like all of you to try Scalefusion and make your own opinion. So I would like to add that disclaimer. Now, as I said, we would like to dig a little deep on the mSCP. With that, I'll give it to Funny, who is the guy who kind of made sure to understand this. So over to you, Funny.
Yes. So let's understand how to use the actual project. So for anyone who is starting out, it might be really confusing. So I want to cover all the basics that can, get you started to use this project. So the first one that you can see on the screen is branches. So for each operating system, you have a different branch so that, for example, Sequoia can have a different set of rules, whereas Sonoma probably supports 90% of it. So to segregate those rules properly, we have different branches, and within branches, we have its own implementation documentation. So that is why you can see different branches for different operating systems. Next comes, once you select a branch, for example, in here, you can see Sequoia as the selected branch. After selecting it, we can see baselines. Baselines, as Sriram mentioned, it is the collection of benchmarks. So under baselines, you can find CIS level 1, level 2, and its implementation. Now, baselines is a set of rules. And how do we get to know about it? We have a rules folder. It is a collection of all the rules supported across all the benchmarks. And the scripts. So to basically combine everything into one single executable script or a single PDF, scripts are used to generate those guidelines. So without these scripts, it is just a knowledge base. These scripts provide us to compile the whole project. The next part. So Now let's dive deep into understanding a benchmark file, the YAML file here. So we can see title, description, the authors that they have worked with, and then you see something called profiles and sections. So we can see the list of rules that are part of this benchmark that are required in order to be CS level 1 compliant or level 2 compliant. So this has the list of rules that this benchmark requires to be implemented. Now, we know which rule is part of this benchmark, but how do we get the information of this rule? So we can go to that particular rule.yaml file, which is very cleverly named so that it is easier for us to find. Now, within this rule file, you can see ID, title, the usual bits, but we can see something called $ODV. This is the interesting part. ODV stands for Organization Defined Value. So whenever you see ODV, that means this rule can be modified. In this example, it is a password requirement and it is set to $ODV characters. So CIS level 1 recommends probably say 16 characters, but your organization doesn't want to set it to 16. So you can customize it to say that my organization, my CIS level 1 flavor will have only 8 characters. So this gives us that flexibility so that we can create our own flavors of benchmarks. Now within this rule YAML file, we'll know on how to check or monitor and also fix it. So we'll go through it. Now check and result. These two parameters gives us on how to monitor it to see if the rule has succeeded. For example, this script basically monitors the sudo timeout configured on the device. So you execute the script and the expected result is 1. If it is not 1, then you'll mark the rule as failed. So that is how it simplifies the whole process for us. Now we know if the rule has passed or failed. If it has failed, we can fix it. So fix can be done in 2 ways, either via profile or DDM, which they have documented perfectly here. So this is for password policy. Either you can use the MDM policy or the DDM method. Or if there is no policy, they also provide us with scripts that we can execute easily and make it compliant. So that is how we monitor and also remediate the whole thing. Now, how can a Mac admin, without a solution at hand, if they want to use the GitHub project, what can they do? So it is really simple. You just need to clone the project, then switch to the desired branch, generate the baseline as in CS level 1. And then using that baseline, create the guidance, the PDFs that are required, or the scripts and the profiles. And this script that gets generated is the compilation of all the rules that you selected. So you don't need to execute 96 scripts for 96 rules. It is just one script, one execution. So it's really simple. Please do try it out. Next thing. So let's see what do we have in store for the next step of mSCP. So mSCP 2.0 is going to come in fall of 2026. The idea behind mSCP 2.0 is the first version was more user-centric, or it was admin-centric. It was easy to implement, and it is a simplified solution. Now with 2.0, it basically is built for developers. So we don't have to deal with multiple branches. It is just one single file containing all the details of all the operating systems. So we don't have to juggle between different branches, and also support for localization. As of now, it's just English, but the support for localization will be introduced. And the most interesting part is the vendor manifest. So this is where it gets really interesting. Now, we can evaluate the system, but we cannot export it to an external vendor, let's say Tenable or Qualys. So with this integration, you can say which rules needs to be evaluated, and those integrations will basically report back. So the integrations with the compliance project is much more simplified. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. So as Funny was explaining, only 2 people in our company understand that. That's Funny and Rajan. Right? The developers, he's the lead designer, as he said, for Apple. You can meet them. But we have to make it easy for you. We love mSCP. So what we do is we try to bring it all together and do it in one click, or that's what we claim. But you know what happens in one click? We couldn't even broadcast it to the monitors, right? So yeah, let's see if it happens in a few clicks, right? So whatever Funny explained, it's super interesting. You should try it out. But we have tried to bring it all together in Scalefusion console, and maybe that's where I should tell you, we are a unified endpoint management, managing Apple and Android, Windows, and every other device there, including printers. We are also an identity and access management solution, making sure that only the device is managed and compliant, only then your employees can access their emails, Teams, and all the other services that you have. That's probably more about Scalefusion. Let's see. What do? You don't download scripts and all. You create a compliance policy in Scalefusion console. You publish it to device profiles and sit back and see it in action. Or maybe not. That reminds me, the B. You will hit the bullseye of compliance with Scalefusion. Yes, I covered the B. What does we offer? We offer you all the 95 plus pre-built compliance rules that CIS Level 1 offers. No negotiation there. You can create your own baseline, but we offer as default. That's what the next point says, we customize it. And you can automate, we only not to give you auto-remediate. Auto-remediate is a like ticking time bomb, right? You set a policy and say auto-remediate on 1,000 devices, you're gone. So we give you a monitoring mode where you can pilot your compliance check, where you can monitor how compliant are you not, right? And then decide to auto-remediate. And as Preetham always tells me, what is the benefit of a feature if you cannot prove it? He comes from that prove it kind of background. So audit-ready reporting. So we built it that for him. It's an audit-ready reporting. You can download the guidance and the report for the audit-ready. Let's see some screenshots. So this is how your dashboard looks like, right? So you would see how many devices are we monitoring, how many are compliant, and what's the average compliance. If you look down a little bit, individual machine is scored there, giving you 3 statuses. So compliance is always looked at as a Boolean, yes or no. But we went ahead and gave you a score so that you can make more decisions out of it, and a percentage as well. So if you see, we give you a percentage, which is like a 50% or 100%, and you have a bunch of rules. Some might be high risky, some might be low risky, some might be just okay, right? So we kind of give you 3 risk statuses as well: high risk, moderate, and low, or no risk, right? And as you can see, the safe and moderate. And obviously, compliance is a Boolean. It's a true or a no, compliant or non-compliant. Why do we kind of break it down into 3 statuses? It's to give you choice, because some decisions can be made on the status, and some decision can be made on the risk status. Obviously, it's up to you how do you use it. And we do have a dashboard by risk status, so you can go ahead and look at all of this. So now how do we create it, right? So as I said, on the screen, if you go back, there's a create button at the top. Okay, yes, there's a create button at the top. If you create, you would have to create the policy group, and as I said, we support multiple platforms. You can do Android, iOS, iPadOS, and macOS, CIS Level 1. You can select your platform, choose the levels of versions that you want, because we know that you would be using our console to manage multiple devices, right? And you don't have to create multiple compliances for 18, 16, 15, or 14, right? So you can choose what do you want for company-owned BYOD at a single place and go and create your compliance at a single shot. And this is where I said, either you can choose to do a monitoring or monitor and auto-remediate. So you can go and pilot it and see how your devices, how your policies by default that you have applied are performing against your compliance, or you can trust us and hit the monitor and auto-remediation button, and trust me, we would make sure that it's compliant if the device has the Scalefusion MDM agent. Right, now from here I'll hand it off to probably Funny, or cover the part that once you have created that, you click on the 3 dots, click on Publish, you select the device profiles and publish it. Device profiles are Scalefusion concept where you group all your policies that you want in a single profile and attach multiple devices. So what you're doing is you're creating a compliance policy and publishing it onto your profile. That's when it starts getting applied to all the devices that are there in that profile. And what happens next, I'll leave it to Funny to go for it.
Yes. So once we publish, now comes the monitoring and the remediation part. So here, we have published a compliance policy on a device. Now, as Sriram showed, you can see different statuses, and from here, you can see the breakdown. So, for example, fun in this iPhone. My iPhone, its compliance percentage was 51, but what failed? To understand that, clicking on the 3 dots over here, you can see the rule-wise breakdown. So you can see what rules have passed, what have failed, and what are unscored. So we also have something called unscored to see or denote that this particular rule is not applicable for this phone. So don't evaluate it. So you can see the complete breakdown here. You can see the compliance percentage, the security score that is assigned, and the compliance status that is currently assigned. Now, after doing that, obviously, we have the status. Now we would want to download the report of it so that we can basically share it with our stakeholders or CISOs. So we can get the complete data that is displayed on the dashboard in a report format. And coming to the final part, the most interesting part is why we are doing this compliance for auditing, right? To get compliant with a particular benchmark or a baseline. So in order to prove that we are ready and we have the compliance in place, we can click on the particular benchmark or the variant over here. In the three dots, you can click on edit to customize it. I'll come back to that later, but the interesting part is download. Downloading it will give you a guidance that can be shared with the auditors. So it gives the complete description of the rules, the policies that are applied, and if we have changed something, if we have modified a value there, even that is displayed in the guidance so that the auditors have the complete picture and we are audit ready. As I said, we can also customize it. So when we click on edit, you can customize it based on your organization requirements. So you can deselect the rules, you can modify them. So as I said, ODV in the previous slides, so you can define your own value. Here the recommendation is 6, but I want to set it to a different value. I'll be able to do that, and based on that, the compliance will be evaluated. Now you can also get the in-depth rule info right from our dashboard. So you can see what the actual policy or the rule states, how it is monitored, and how it is remediated. All right. So after doing all of that, you will come back to the original dashboard and then take it forward and probably make a monitoring policy into a remediation policy after you have understood what's failing. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Fari. So what took 9 slides to explain, probably single click is an overdue, but once you would try it, you know that it will not take more than 3 clicks for sure. So that's how we arrived at. But then what's our difference? Like, what do we give you as an advantage? To start with, it's right built into the console. You don't need a separate tool. It has reports that you can download as of today. It's live. You can customize the benchmarks, create your baseline for your company, right? One of the most important things is you have a device profile. You have configured password policies to, let's say, 6 or 8, and then you have a compliance which is changing it to 12. So when you go to the device profile, you as Mac admins clearly see an indicator that this policy is governed by a compliance so that you don't accidentally make changes, and even if you do, we ignore it and make sure that we respect the compliance rather than an admin change. So if you have role-based access, where many admins in your company have access, editing the profile, they see that this policy should not be touched or is governed by compliance policies. This is one of the very important things of conflicts, because some admins would have access to profiles, some admins would have access to policies. So this kind of conflict resolution right in the console. Now, as I said, one of the important things is you pushed it, everything changed, now you want to revert it. Now that's the most important thing, how do you revert it? So we offer you custom scripts. We have not built it to the console, but if you reach out to us, our technical support team, we will give you custom scripts to revert that. It's also offered as a guidance where you can revert it, and we also offer you custom scripts. As I said, there are 3 statuses. It's not only about status, it's about a percentage and a risk status so that you can make more informed choices about a device posture and take decisions on it. On the iOS side, we are probably one of the few players out there which gives you a monitoring aspect beyond the remediation. So we give you monitoring. As I said, for us, monitoring is very important. Piloting something is very important rather than hitting that remediate button right at the same go. The biggest advantage probably is we support multiple platforms. What I spoke, or what he spoke about CIS compliance, we are launching it on Windows soon. We have already partnered with Android Enterprise, that is using their device trust from Android Enterprise, and the same evaluation is done for Android as well. And it has acted up. Cool. So this is what is the Scalefusion advantage. But whatever I have spoken about except for the Windows is live. But what you can do with compliance, right? Now we stitch it all together. Scalefusion gives you a device management solution, an Apple protocol-based MDM solution with app management remote control. You have Veltar, which is the compliance module, which gives you all the compliance metrics with a secure web gateway for your web content filtering, but we don't stop there. We stitch it all together. What do you do with this? You manage your services. Today, we as a startup almost use 25 plus web applications. We are a Google shop, so we use Google Workspace, Drive, etc. We use all the HubSpots, intercoms. How do we make sure that our employees are accessing this only on a managed device and a compliant device? So we offer you a conditional identity and access management right built into the console. You can tie up your UEM, our Veltar compliance, tell our identity management solution that provide the access only if the device is managed and compliant. Besides that, we also give you just-in-time admin. On your Mac and Windows, you don't have to share your administrator credentials with your end users. The users can become administrators for a brief time, and you as Mac admins can know all the logs of what they did. We have a company user portal where you can give them user portal for a complete single sign-on experience. We also give a component called Keycard, which is a login screen replacement, where you can have your employees sign in with your identity credentials. And obviously, we support Identity Federation. We understand that you're already using identity providers. We will add the conditional access part, and we will federate to your identity provider. So your users, employees, don't have to change the passwords. That's how we are bringing everything together, just not the compliance. That was it from our side. And these are some of the customers that we have, and many more. And that's it. We probably have 8 minutes left if there are any questions. But thank you everyone for listening in, and sorry for the glitch that happened. Thank you. If there are any questions, happy to take here, or we are at the booth outside. The entire engineering team is here. Trust us, there will be no sales pitches. You can talk all your engineering questions. It's only engineering there. Cool. If there are no questions, we probably meet you at the booth. Please do drop by. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.